Hello! Welcome on in. Happy Sunday, folks. Hope you're all having a good one. My name is Pixorus. Welcome to your Sunday Minecraft live stream. It's that time again. Although today we're back on Empires. Gonna have a little bit of fun over on Empires. Glazing Hermitopia. But first, we've got some people to thank. Revolutionary Pirate, thank you for the 11 months. Serendina with a 36. And Square Moon with the 15. I made a couple of changes to the alerts, very minor ones. But now it will come up properly when somebody gifts subs instead of just being like, so-and-so subscribed 5 times. If somebody gifts 5 subs, for example. I decided to finally do something about that after somebody gifted 50 subs on the last stream. Benderbot and Starlight Jess with a brand new Prime subs to the channel. Thank you so much. Enjoy those emotes and your sub badges. Welcome to the Pixels. Yeah, we're going to be back on Empires for the entire stream today. And I've been doing some stuff off camera on Empires. It just takes so long to trade glass, even when you've got emeralds. Like you have to wait for the villagers to refresh their trades, which they only do twice per day. And so I've just been standing in Hermitopia, waiting for the villagers to refresh their trades, waiting for the next day to come around, trading other things. Obviously, I've got all the emeralds from the raid farm. GM Craft, thank you for the 10 months. Jade No More, thank you so much for gifting a sub. Did that come up right? Did that look weird to anybody? I couldn't really tell. My stream preview thing is small. Tinker, thank you for the 56 months. It's a long message, but all of that shows up. Let me replay that one real quick. Oh, now it just shows up as a sub. Weird. Okay. That's kind of irritating. Well, if anybody else gifts a sub, I'll try and take a look at the notification to make sure that it looks right, because I was worried that it had, like, code stuff in it instead. Mira-san, thank you for the Prime for 3 months. Appreciate that. If I consider just going and tearing into a desert, yes, but it doesn't really fit with my whole theme in Empires, which is, like, preservation. And the deserts are all just south of Jimmy. Yeah, it just says just subscribe, not gifted subs. Hang on. Hang on, it's not done what I wanted it to. Hang on. Go to my dashboard real fast. I'm pretty sure I saved these okay. Subscriptions. Variations. Yeah, when the subscription is a gift, it should say so-and-so just gifted a sub to someone else. Like, it should look like this. Why did it not do that? That's weird. You saw a message saying you gifted. Well, that's strange. Yeah, it just says just subscribed if I refresh that. I wonder why. That's annoying. Anyway, Ihal Live, thanks so much for the 100 bits. I'll have to do some more tinkering behind the scenes. I'm not going to do that all live on stream right now. It couldn't be a real stream without technical difficulties, I know. Let's get online. Let's go do some more stuff on Empires. I am in Hermitopia. Is it nighttime? It is nighttime. Okay, we need to sleep. And I have probably nowhere near enough glass, but I have enough to get us started here. I have a bunch in my inventory, but I have, what is this, like 15 shulker boxes of glass? Hello? Thank you. I really need to throw this keyboard out and get a new one. Probably in the other order. But I've already started getting some of this done, so we're at this point in the glazing of Hermitopia, and we have all of that left to do. But we have a couple of techniques that will help us along with this. So I'm going to... Oh, the other thing I need to do is start replay mod, because I'm time-lapsing all of this. So let's collect all of this. And let's log out real quick. Hit record server, log back in. Luckily, replay mod is very straightforward to get started now, which is wonderful. So let's grab... Let's put the emeralds back in here, because I have a ton of emeralds just in case we need to trade more to the villagers. And I'll probably go and get some food at some stage as well, because we'll be crouch walking, but we'll be walking a fair bit. The thing we need to do is go to keybinds, bind, use item or place block to an unused key. And then we can jump up here, and I'm now using the X key on the keyboard in order to place stuff. But this is a technique I learned from watching Joe Hills work on his pinball machine base. You can place 3 blocks at a time if you rebind it to a key, because keys are able to input much faster than mouse clicks are. It tries not to double up on mouse clicks, whereas key presses you can just hold down. And so, yes, we have galloping blocks. It makes that kind of lovely brum, 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 like horse noise. Horse hoof galloping noise. So we're going to be doing the entirety of this process like that, basically, and just working upwards in stages. So ideally we want to keep as much glass on the hotbar as possible, because that's going to help us just scroll to the next inventory slots. Why not use glass panes? Can you imagine placing glass panes like this? Like, you know how tricky it is to place glass panes sometimes? Imagine doing that for a structure that's almost 200 blocks high. That's why I'm not doing this with glass panes. It's nothing to do with, like, you know, saving on resources doesn't matter when you can trade glass infinitely. It's not like I have to be economical about the supplies here. We have an infinite supply of glass from trading it to librarians. I just think we're in this for convenience more than anything. Yeah, there'd be so many, like, misplaced glass panes. It would be awful. But now I have to place the ender chest and the shulker boxes all using the X key on the keyboard, so that's a little awkward for this part, but I'm more or less getting used to it. There we go, Disaster Jar gifted 2 subs. That showed up okay. So that's good. And occasionally it goes slightly out of sync with this, and then you can sync it up again by stopping and restarting, so that should be fine. Blocks are much better at this scale, yeah. Blocks also look better at this scale, and it means I can put a glass roof over the whole thing, whereas if you try and do a roof of any kind when you've built the walls out of glass panes, it never looks good. I don't want to have solid blocks over the entire thing, because that would darken half of the inside, and that would mean more mobs spawned, which would mean more skulk ends up spreading. Which it already has, as you can tell from down there. Like, a fair bit of mob spawning and despawning has been happening. Well, not despawning as such, but mobs have been dying in the sun. Would it be possible to bind the block picking key? Well, you can do that with the middle mouse button anyway, but it'll only pick block to, like, 1 slot, so once I have a slot of glass in my hotbar, it'll just keep going back to that one. So I can't constantly refill it like that. I do have to do this every so often, and it won't pick block whilst you've already got the action key held down. So I've thought about the different ways of doing this, and this is probably the most effective. Is to open my inventory every so often and do this. What am I doing with all the glass? What does it look like? What does the title of the stream say? We are surrounding Hermitopia in a glass case. Because that's what I do on this server. It's my one joke, is surround things in glass. You want to preserve something, you put it in a glass box. That's how archaeology works, right? We are laminating Hermitopia, yes. Does Empires not have clear glass blocks, or do you prefer seeing the little stripes so you know the border of the glass immediately? I mean, this is as clear as it gets as far as vanilla textures are concerned. And honestly, if you wanted to build a wall of glass this size, you kind of need to have something there to show that there is glass there. Otherwise, everybody's just going to fly around and go splat against it like a bird against a window. If it doesn't look like there is something here, then people are going to collide with it. I think people are going to collide with it anyway, to be honest. Because connected textures do a lot of work here. Like, if you were approaching this from below, this could all just look like block texture. But I think for the purposes of my videos, it actually makes sense to have it at least look like there's something there. Isn't people colliding with a bird, colliding with it like a bird the point? No, the point is to preserve Hermitopia. And whatever that means for everybody else. It's going to have a big glass case around it. Just going to mute myself in case Jimmy's around. Doesn't want to hear me yammering to stream chat. Even though you're casing the whole tower, do you still use some of the farms? I think people might be, yeah. Personally, I've used the villagers in here just to get all of this glass in the first place. But I think for the purposes of reducing server strain and that kind of thing, we are going to be disabling some of the farms. But that's more of a behind-the-scenes thing than it is a plot thing, you know? That's more just not wanting to put too much strain on our server hardware. I'm sorry, folks. This escape key is escaping me. What I need to do is get used to using the E key to close an inventory. Will I add a hidden door to access the internal farms? It depends which ones we end up keeping on. But that's sort of what I want other people to figure out. Like, I'm just going to be the one doing this. I want other people to figure out if we actually still want to access Hermitopia or not. Hermit's logged on, made a lag monster and left? Pretty much, yes. Could be a heist storyline potentially for other people to play out. I would love that. You know I love a heist. This was established back in Empire Season 1. I do love a heist. The sculk looks cool from up this high. When you're a decent distance from it, yeah. Wonder if I'm fixing Grumbot's face? No. We're leaving it as is. For the purposes of the storyline, Grumbot is absolutely dead and will stay that way. I like the sculk here, the way it creeps up the building, making it seem like the Riff has started to consume any Hermit-related builds. I mean, yeah, I'm happy to leave the sculk here. I think it's a, if nothing else, it's a fun way of preserving what Cub wanted to do. Oh, Jimmy's online, of course. I was thinking I would need to sleep, but I guess I don't so much. I was sad not to see Doc make any new Empires videos. I can't imagine what he would have gotten up to see his new pet. I mean, yeah. I feel like Doc would have done some fun stuff. But obviously he had other concerns. I think one of the things he was planning on doing was bringing that like item shadowing stuff to this server. Like he was trying to, he was going to try and do the, whatever he calls it, poppy technology. And like rebrand himself as a wizard or something. Ginger, thank you for gifting a sub to Nightbot. Looks like the alerts are working after all. Mischievous, thank you for the 9 months. Nord for R2, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, a brand new sub to the channel. Paleo Philosopher, thank you for the 100 bits. Ehel Live with 100 bits as well. I think I'm all caught up on alerts. How much glass is this expected to take? It was about 60,000 when I did the calculations, roughly. And that was just based on drawing a big box around this and multiplying it by the height of Hermitopia. So I don't think I've got enough in my ender chest right now, but we can at least get a substantial portion more of this time-lapse done, and then I can go back to trading. By preserving Hermitopia in glass like I did with Joel's base. Yeah, basically. That's the idea. Tox Electric, thanks so much for the tier 1 sub. Brand new sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. There we go. I can do all of that without pressing the escape key, which is the one that's giving me grief right now. Now you need to fill it with that yellow stuff they use in biology to preserve stuff. Yeah, we're going to fill it with like alcohol or some sort of preserving agent. We're going to embalm Hermitopia. Formaldehyde, yeah, that's the stuff. Quick question. Is lava or water the Minecraft equivalent of formaldehyde? Asking for a friend. Do I think I learned anything from the crossover? A few bits and pieces. I mean, I learned how to build a ENXO4 copper farm from Azuma. But in terms of, like, learning about making content and stuff, I don't know. I think I learned that it's really nice having a larger cast on Empires, at least for a while. I think it's been a lot easier having a smaller cast on Empires when it comes to decision making. Like, the Hermits famously have, like, weekly meetings, and those go on for quite a while because they're trying to figure out what's going on with, like, their overall content strategy and plot lines and that kind of stuff. Whereas on Empires, we are a lot quicker to make decisions like that. We tend to yes and quite a lot. So there are some benefits to having a smaller cast, but it was so nice during the crossover having so many of us online. And so I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about the Hermitopia thing. Is that like a learning experience? I mean, difficult to say. Minecraft needs more liquids. Maybe a series of artist residences or guests to add to the cast but reduce decision-making time? Maybe, but then it kind of ends up with somebody not really being a full member of the server, and that... Like, sometimes people are okay with that, but other times it feels like that's doing them a disservice. Like, obviously what Scott's been doing with Owen is fun, and Owen doesn't necessarily want to be part of Empires full-time when he's working on other stuff with his, like, production company that does rats and everything, but, like, I think there's there's only room for a couple of those kind of cameo appearances before it feels like we're just not letting people join the server as a full member, which doesn't really feel fair. What build on the Hermitcraft server was most different than I expected in person versus on video? I mean, none of it was really different because on video it all kind of comes across the way you've seen it, you know? But it was just so weird being around all of it. Slotted in so smoothly with Hermitcraft. And I think that's just because I've known a bunch of them for a while. Like, I've collaborated with some of them before, but also having watched their videos, I could hit the ground running a little faster than some of the other Empires folks because I knew where everything was, more or less. Like, I knew what there was, at least. Am I going to use armor stands to reproduce the Hermits? I don't think so. Like, I don't necessarily want this to be about the Hermits themselves. It's more about Hermitopia as a place. It was a reverse Truman Show. I guess it was. Jubilant Poet with the 2 months. Thanks so much. You hear a lot. You might as well sub. I appreciate that. Thank you. Never under any obligation, of course, but appreciate the support. Let's see. Can probably fit all of that in the inventory. Yep. Oh yeah, we need to put that one back. How am I placing these blocks so fast? So this is a technique that I found out about through Joe Hills. But people have been using this for quite a while, apparently. It was something that he discovered while he was working on this. If you're playing Java Minecraft, you go to Controls and rebind the Use Item or Place Block key, which is normally right-click. If you rebind that to a keyboard key, because keyboard keys can repeat inputs, like if I've got the text chat open like this, for example, if I hold down X, it's just going to print a ton of X's while I've got the key held down. It does that basically constantly, whereas if you're using the mouse button, it doesn't process more than one click because most of the time it doesn't want you to, like, if you hold it down, it's more like a click and hold down kind of action that you might be used to from using like the desktop functions of your computer. So the keyboard press actually lets you repeat the same action over and over and over again very fast. And if you do that with block placing, you can actually place blocks as fast as the game will allow. Obviously, you've also got the vertical height limit of how far you can place blocks, which is 3 blocks downwards, as long as there's a block underneath there that you can look at. So if you walk sideways like that, you can place blocks over and over again. And if you get it at a certain angle, it actually lets you place the blocks really fast. Are the hands sticking out? Yes. I'm just going to leave them there, because they're made out of full blocks. There's no slabs or anything involved there. There's a bit of redstone and stuff, but yeah, I kind of wanted the hands to just be sticking out of the glass. It's a sort of Han Solo frozen in carbonite kind of moment. Anyone else online? Jimmy is, or was. I think he logged out. Not sure if he's streaming later today or not, but it's Sunday, so I don't know if he normally streams on Sundays. I've had a cup of tea sat on my desk for the last half hour that I haven't been drinking. Still mostly warm. Will there be a Hardcore Hermits Season 4? No, I don't think so. I think after the first couple of seasons of Hardcore Hermits, they ended up doing a few other things. And I feel like Last Life or Third Life, whatever iteration of that series they're on, has kind of filled the gap in hardcore gameplay for the folks who enjoy stuff like that. Have I noticed an increase in viewers since the crossover? I mean, it depends, because Empire's had a pretty decent amount of viewers anyway, and it really depends on the subject of the video, more so than whether or not the crossover is happening at the time. Flying with fireworks using the X key on the keyboard is also a little difficult, but... Juniper, thank you for the 5 months. Welcome back. Oh, wrong one. There we go. I'm the bad guy for Season 2, going around putting everyone in glass boxes. How's David doing? I mean, still processing copper. As far as the creative version that I'm putting together, I was working on it a little bit before the stream, and there's a couple of tweaks that need to be done, but it's more or less ready for the tutorial now. I just have to figure out how I'm going to present the tutorial, because it's been a while since I did any kind of, like, creative mode tutorial stuff, so I'm not sure how I want it to play out. Like, how much I'm going to go into the detail of, like, why I've done things the way I've done things, and how much is just going to be a straight up, here is how you build this. Because I sort of want to head off any comments of, like, well, so-and-so did this better and faster and more efficiently and whatnot, because that's sort of not the point. The point of this is more that I've built something that's taken on its own sense of identity. And it was my own solution to a problem that there aren't many other solutions for. And I just had a vision for it that I wanted to see through to its natural conclusion. But in the Redstone world, in the technical world, everybody is so obsessed with the efficiency of contraptions like that that hopefully my point of view will be understandable to people. When is my next episode? Hopefully tomorrow, if I can get this finished on stream and then edit the episode together. But I do have the podcast to do tomorrow as well, so it might be delayed until Tuesday at that point. Through running the recap and stuff, do I have a favourite Hermitcraft season? My favourite Hermitcraft season is always just the current one, because honestly, like, once they start a new season, I just get excited for new stuff, and most of what happened in previous seasons has just kind of left behind at that stage. It's drizzling outside. But then again, it's Britain. What else is new? Nice. We'll just take the entire contents of that and not bother getting another one until we need it. Do I watch all of the Hermit's videos or only the Hermitcraft related ones? I watch half of the Hermit's video output and only the Hermitcraft episodes. So I don't watch the folks that Zloy watches. Like, he watches Tango, Zombie Cleo, Grian, like a few of the others. It also depends heavily on who's active, right? Like, even though Mumbo's back making videos now, I haven't been watching any of them because they haven't been Hermitcraft episodes. Oh dang, it's raining in Britain. Yes, it's a day ending in Y, therefore it's raining in Britain. Everuvers, thanks so much for the tier 1 sub. Blau Games official with 100 bits. Sending all the love here from Brazil. Very nice. Thank you so much. And MCD 10,000 with the Prime sub. Brand new Prime sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. So many new subs lately. Thank you so much, folks. This is going to be used to put Hermitopia in a bottle. More of a glass case than a bottle, but yeah. Why not use panes rather than blocks? Imagine placing 60,000 glass panes and how difficult that would be if you're trying to place them vertically, considering that they have a 2-pixel wide hitbox at the top. I would not be able to place glass panes this effectively. Look at the amount of leeway I have when I'm like running around on top of these glass blocks. And think about how difficult that would be, how precise you would have to be to place glass panes. Obviously, if I'm able to get 60,000 glass blocks, which is about what I will need to do the entirety of this, material conservation is not an issue. I don't have to be, like, sparing with the materials that I'm using here. So, it's really more about what's convenient for me to use. And it is much more convenient to use blocks in this case. Why am I glass casing Hermitopia, though? To preserve it. Because that's kind of my thing on this server. Turn it into a museum exhibit. Oh, there's slabs here, of course. We'll go around those. The overall effect will be there. And they're kind of outside of the glass case anyway, so... Am I going to box up the exposed parts at all? What do you mean? Sort of what I'm doing, isn't it? This is my jam. This is my bread and butter, yes. Is there a nether branch or big boy exhibits? What? Like a nether directory for Hermitopia and the fossil site? No, I moved the fossil back to the museum. So the fossil site no longer has anything there because I took all of the blocks from the fossil and moved them to the museum. Hermitopia has its own nether portal because it always has. T. Sinjin B, thank you so much for the full year of supporting the channel. Thank you so much for the 12-month resub. Everyone spamming the word nerd in the chat, please. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge for that full year of support. Your brand new nerd sub badge. Abracadabra. Thank you so much for the 100 bits. A great man with great builds. Love to be in your brain for a day, see how you come up with ideas for builds. Honestly, just reactively a lot of the time. I'm like, hey, what does this need? What do I like today? Do I think this would look good in Minecraft? Let's try that. Oh, what a big hilltop. Be a shame if a castle moved in. That kind of thing. Playing Minecraft while listening to a Minecraft stream. Let's see how this goes. I have trouble listening to Minecraft streams in the background sometimes because people are caving or they're in the nether. And I get jump scared by creeper or ghast sounds even though I'm not in the nether or in a cave. So, yeah, hopefully this won't be too bad for you because there'll be just a lot of repetitive block placing noises and that'll be about it. Disaster Jar, thank you for gifting that sub. Actually play without sound so that doesn't affect me. Fair enough. This is why I'm glad about captions in-game. Yeah, that's another thing I kind of rely on so that I know whether or not somebody's stream sounds are actually coming from my game. Occasionally I've had that moment of like, why isn't that person reacting to the creeper sound? And then I just explode. Eric Stoll, thank you for the raid. Welcome in. Hello, hello. Often use chopping VODs for perimeter digging. Yeah. I feel like that's a good time to use those. I could have built this box around Grumbot's arms and stuff, but I decided not to just because it added so much extra glass to the project. You got to consider that every single column of glass that I build up here is going to be potentially like 150 blocks tall. So that's an extra 2.5 stacks worth of glass that I'd have to add on for every additional block that this wall extended by. Is there a base to it with an inscription? Not yet, no. There will be eventually. But the problem is the landscape it is built on is certainly not flat. So it's difficult to determine either where the floor is, like where the base of Hermitopia really is, or whether I should build like different levels of it, you know? But I'm not going to dig the entire thing out as well as doing this because it just feels sort of absurd to do that. Unless I just dig a massive trench around the entire thing, but then I have to include even more glass going downwards. Do I have a macro for placing? No, I'm just holding down a keyboard key that's rebound to be the place block key. Which most of the time works pretty fast. Has anyone ever given a full tour of everything in Hermitopia? I mean, one of the hermits might have. I haven't. I honestly don't know what's in all of this. Because even though I watched the hermit's videos for it, I only watched half of them. And not everybody ended up working on Hermitopia, so... If you look at the storage area, there's a fair amount of stuff in there that you're like, okay, that's where all of that stuff comes from. There's wool farms and crop farms and all of that kind of stuff, but there's also a few farms that aren't even connected to the central storage thing at all. Don't think anyone knows what all's in this thing. Not even the hermits at this point. Oh, hang on, that's one block in. Gonna cut off the redstone there just because that allows me to place a more complete glass box. Like if there's a trapdoor or some other kind of like more solid block, it feels okay to do that, but then like pieces of redstone dust and carpet and stuff like that I can just skip over, you know. There been any updates on the bridge? I think this is newer. I didn't really notice that Gem had built a shop there, but she has. Hermitopia, the 8th wonder of the world. I feel like there should be at least 13 wonders of the world on this server because there's 13 empires. And each of us has built something pretty spectacular at this point. Will the arms be included in the glass case? I mean, no, they're kind of sticking out of it. But I think that's even funnier. There we go. Do I know about the underground market? I mean, in character, no, but then I don't really have a character, so it doesn't really matter that way. In person, obviously. Has Jimmy asked me to remove his skulk yet? No. I think he's just dealing with it whenever it comes up. And it's not going to take over blocks in the same way in the Mesa, because I don't think it spreads to stuff like terracotta and red sand and things. It'd spread the veins, but not the skulk blocks, so it's less destructive over there. There's a zombie just casually trying to get in with the villagers. It's not going to happen for you, mate. Did I get all the giblets? No, not yet. But then I haven't really been looking for them. There are a few that are just stashed in hidden places around the world. There are a few that other people still have. But not everyone's been online, so I haven't really been able to catch up with some folks. Jimmy said on a couple of streams that he needs to inquire about skull catalyst removal services. Well, he needs to actually DM me about that then. Or we need to find a time we can both get online. Man, there's so much of this left to do. We've got a fair bit done, though. So I'm not 100% on whether we've got enough glass already, but we'll come pretty close. I reckon. Pinky hurting? Nope. I don't, like, jam my little finger down into the keyboard. It's not, like, the biggest problem in the world. This is 8 years worth of bridging out over the end void and stuff. Is the top of Hermitopia at build height limit? No. No, it doesn't even come close. Build height limit is, like, absurdly tall now. Hello. Luckily there's no skulk this high up. Is the whole stream just covering Hermitopia in glass and that's it? We'll find out. I'll see if I have enough glass. We've already been going for about 50 minutes or so, and we've done maybe twice as much as I had previously, so... Well, there's that. That can happen too. Don't know where that guy was, but he might be gone now, so... What are my thoughts on Swift Sneak? I like it. I use it all the time. Feels weird when I don't have it now, kind of like Depth Strider. There's always those moments when you get caught without it and you're like, ugh, I feel so slow. Sluggish. Have I played God of War Ragnarok? No, I've watched a couple of other people play it, but honestly, the minute-to-minute gameplay of that game would not satisfy me at all. I find that action games like that are fun to watch, and I think the story of God of War Ragnarok and the dialogue is already well written of the parts that I've seen, but the action fighting kind of side of stuff would just tire me out. I'd just get kind of bored of it. How long am I planning to stream? I stream for about 3 hours each time, so we'll be done by 6 PM my time. Because I start at 3 in the afternoon, and usually by 6 PM I'm trying to figure out what's for dinner. Just realised the hermits didn't spawn-proof the area when they were here. They spawn-proofed some of it, but then Cub went around replacing a lot of the torches with soul torches, and there are some areas which are naturally just going to be dark. There are some places where it wasn't dark initially, but then stuff was built on top of it that casts a shadow, and a few things were added at the last minute, like Rendog's house was basically put on there at the last possible second. How many time zones are there in the UK? Just the one. We're just on GMT. What's for dinner? Tonight we are making some chili, I think. Made chili last night. Nice. Yeah, it's good for this time of year in the UK. Nice winter warmer kind of food. R.I.P. that one glass. Yeah, that one glass is... we're not going to miss it. A lot of the time I get perfectionist about stuff like that, and I don't want to lose a block that we could potentially use. There might just be like one block missing at the end or something, but when it's this accessible, I don't tend to worry about it. Good thing there's no wind and storms in Minecraft. Yes, I don't think a big glass case like this would really hold up in real life. Without any kind of reinforcement, you know? Any events planned for Respawn like the Ancient City raid? There'll probably be a dragon fight at some point. It remains to be seen whether I can be part of that or not. But, yeah, I'm playing Respawn a lot more casually, because I don't have plans for like a full video series on it or anything. Now watch, there'll be one block missing when we finish. Yeah, and then I'll just go and trade some more glass from the librarians in here, and I won't really think twice about it. Like, it's not like the glass is particularly hard to acquire. What is Respawn? Respawn is a 1-month-long hardcore server that some friends of mine started up. There's a bunch of folks from Truly Bedrock along with a few others. It's played in Java because obviously hardcore isn't really on Bedrock Edition. Yeah, it's Truly Bedrock and friends. And the idea is that you spend 1 month on a hardcore server. Obviously, if you die in hardcore, then you can't play on the server anymore. It's game over. You just get to fly around in spectator. But there are lives, so there's a mod installed that gives you a couple of player heads when you first log in, and that basically acts as your lives. You keep one in your inventory, and if you die, your whole inventory gets wiped, but you do respawn, which is not commonly a thing in hardcore. But then if other people pick up your player head, if you like leave it in a chest somewhere and people end up grabbing it, then they can use it to respawn themselves. Or if a player head is thrown on the ground and is just left there spinning like that, a spectator who's somebody who's lost their lives could fly into that and it would respawn them. So there's a couple of neat ways that it can turn into like a lifesteal kind of situation. But that's just happening for the end of January and beginning of February. I'm not playing it super intensely because I'm going to be heading out to the US at the end of January to go and stay with my partner's family for a bit, because we haven't seen them for a little while, and we didn't get to spend Christmas with them, so we're having kind of a late Christmas, a Janumus, if you like. And so I'm not going to be able to be there for the last week and a half or so of Respawn. And yeah, I still have Empire's stuff to do. I still have my tutorial to make for David the Copper Aging Facility. I still have other bits and pieces I want to do. Once I've done the tutorial for David, I want to start Survival Guide again as well, but I think at this rate I'm going to make a couple of Empire's videos before I go away. The David tutorial is going to happen, and then Survival Guide is going to be back in February. Might do a couple of other short Minecraft videos just to kind of tide people over, but... Working on some Minecraft escape rooms for an event. The version I'm using is Bedrock. Do you have any ideas on rooms? Honestly, that's the kind of stuff that would take me a brainstorming process. I don't really have any ideas off the top of my head that I don't already plan to use myself in some dungeons on Empires, so... There's some really neat mechanics, though. Honestly, if you go to the Minecraft wiki and just look up the Minecraft wiki article on basically any feature of Minecraft, I pretty much always learn something that I didn't know about it. Or some aspect of it will occur to me to use that I hadn't considered before. Like, one of the things I would really love to do on Empires at some stage is a dungeon experience based on letting creepers explode near you. Because if you splash a creeper with a splash potion and they still have the potion effect going on at the time, the creeper's explosion will leave a lingering cloud of that potion effect, kind of like a lingering potion. And so I want to set up a dungeon somewhere where the only way to progress is to go through lava, and in order to do that you have to shield yourself from a creeper explosion, but the creeper has fire resistance, and so when you walk into the potion cloud afterwards, you get a short fire resistance duration that allows you to walk through the lava and progress to the next area. And I've wanted to do that on Empires, but I just haven't found the time to do it amidst all of the other stuff we've been doing. There's some really neat mechanics like that that you can learn about just by reading up on the Minecraft wiki and finding out, hey, what's some mechanics that I didn't know about before? Will there be more behind-the-scenes lore on Empires? Yeah, I still have... I have one of those videos that I haven't finished editing yet, which is going to be another one of the videos that goes up while I'm away. And then there's like 3 or 4 more things. Like, every time I talk about it with the group, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have a couple of other things I want to do, there's like a couple of people who are like, oh yeah, I wanted you to do another thing, let me talk to you about it. Play on a server with swords that inflict blindness. Killing creepers with it is stressful because of the lingering potion effect. Oh, I bet. Yeah, that sounds potentially very scary. Gonna get ready for D&D this afternoon. Nice. Enjoy. Next Sunday, I'll be playing my last session of D&D with 8-Bit Community before I go away, and I'll be missing one of the sessions whilst I'm out in the States. Which is funny, because basically everybody from 8-Bit is based in the USA, but the USA is a very large place. So it's not like I can show up on their doorstep and be like, I'll participate from here, Dish and Toz. Has anyone been running the farms within the tower? I've used the mob farm a couple of times to get gunpowder, and I've been using the villagers to get all of this glass. But as far as the other farms and stuff, they mostly just run if players are in the area, and people have been fairly scarce throughout January on this server. There have been a few people logging in to get builds done and record individual episodes, but it feels like a lot of people are just taking it easy in January. And it makes sense. Like, I feel the same way. After all of the Hermitcraft collab stuff happened, it just felt like the right sort of time to take a step back and relax. Enjoy the early part of the year when ad revenue is lower than usual. Reassess what you're planning on doing with your series and earn back a bit of that brain power that might have been getting burnt out towards the end of the year. Minecraft moon phases affecting hostile mob difficulty is a fun mechanic. It is, yeah. I learn stuff like that about difficulty in Minecraft all the time. Like the fact that skeletons get more accurate if you're on higher difficulties, but they're a really poor shot if you're on easy. Stuff like that is just so interesting. Why not middle click for the glass? I kind of am, but it kind of works better to have one stack at a time. Plus, once I stop placing glass, I kind of have to take my fingers off the controls to middle click as well. Like if I put it in my offhand like this, I guess I can kind of do something like this, right? But then the stack in my offhand is eventually going to run out. And sooner or later I have to go to my ender chest to find more, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Plus I like having a shield in my offhand for those moments when skeletons come out and shoot me off the wall.
Well, that's just prime.
Burning Skies, thank you for the 2 months of Prime. Welcome back. So if we do something like this. Why is full glass house needed? Because making half of one would be less funny.
Well, that's just prime.
Shalmazar, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Brand new sub to the channel. Enjoy your emote and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. How much further? I'd say we're about halfway up.
Well, that's just prime.
Mini TT, thanks so much for the 5 months. So will no one be able to use the farms anymore once the glass is up? No, there's no reason that people wouldn't be able to use the farms. I think we are planning on disabling some of them just for the purposes of reducing lag on the server. Because a lot of them produce a lot of excess items that we're not using as much as the hermits are, or the hermits would on their own server. Given the state of hermits and lighting things up, how many creepers have spawned on me so far? There have been a lot that I've seen, but none that have caused any problems for me. Do you wonder if Catherine is going to break the wool farm or steal all of its output to preserve her business? I don't know for certain. I'm also worried about, like, the change over there, like, occasionally skipping a block as I move, but... What about Impulse's raid farm? Oh, I'm planning on using that a bit more, so, that's technically Gemini Tay's property at this point, because he left that to her. Gem can give you a tutorial. The tutorial is, I will watch Impulse build this. Using Joe's trick for fast placing? Yeah. Yeah, I did something similar with the original glass case I built around Joel's floating tower, so I've been using this trick for a little while. But I definitely got it from Joe Hills working on his pinball machine. If Empires and Hermitcraft were placed on a map, which one do you think would be the largest? What do you mean? Like, in terms of how far we are spread out compared to the Hermitcraft server, there's definitely more stuff built in weird places on the Hermitcraft server. And it's also been built by nearly 3 times as many people. Actually, more like twice as many people, right? Because there's, what, 20-something Hermits? 24, 26... Hermitcraft bases aren't necessarily bigger than ours. I mean, look at Stratos. Look at all the building Joel has done. That's comparable to something like the area Tango's building in for Decked Out, you know? I think Gem's base on Empires is bigger than Gem's base on Hermitcraft. Yeah, Sanctuary, like, there's some people who build big around here. I feel like that's something else that the Hermits said when they came to this server, was like, this server's only been live for 3 months, your bases are also big. I mean, hello? Yeah, this isn't too bad, actually. It's a good call by chat. I wasn't certain that having the middle click in there was really going to work, but it seems to be doing okay. Is Empires updating to 1.20? We don't know, because we're not sure when 1.20 is even coming out. So, whoa. There goes the skeleton. Just jumped off after me. Gonna have to try real hard not to look at that Enderman for a second. But unless I was placing a glass block on him, I don't think I would be looking at him anyway. They have a before metric of the amount of glass I've placed, so I can tell how much glass was needed for this project. Well, the total was probably going to be around 60,000. So, yeah, I don't know for certain, but I can just ballpark it and say 60,000. Anything at 1.20 I'm excited for? All of it. I mean, new features are always just exciting to me. There's always some fun stuff we can get to do with them. I do wish that 1.20 was coming out in time for us to upgrade Empires to 1.20 because the Sniffer has that kind of like historical flavor to it that I think would work really well for my Empire, but I think they get along well with the Dodos as well. But honestly, like, when 1.18 came out, we had discussions about whether we were going to update Empires Season 1 to 1.18, but it never happened. So I doubt this season would, even if we have, like, a couple of months of our season left when 1.20 comes out. Like, I doubt we would update. Because at this point, it's too much of a pain for our custom mod that we've had coded for us to be updated to the new version, and by that time, we'd probably be looking at wrapping up the season anyway. Has the question, when am I joining Hermitcraft, stopped? No. Not that I can tell, but people don't tend to ask it all that much. People are mostly just asking questions about what it was like being on Hermitcraft. I don't know if that really counts as the same thing, but... Blair Kit, thanks so much for the 3 months. Can I play at MCC? No, competitive stuff has never really been my thing. Not really something I'm interested in doing, sad to say. Is there a rough end date already set for Empire Season 2? We've been talking about it, nothing is set in stone yet. So we're not going to mention anything publicly because we don't want to have everybody, like, anticipating everything. As soon as you announce when something is going to end, everyone immediately gets excited for the new thing instead of staying excited for the current thing. So we don't tend to talk much about what we're planning behind the scenes, because then people know, like, what kind of plot beats to watch out for, and they're sort of counting things off. You even get people in your comments section saying, like, oh, you've only got this amount of time left, you better make more episodes or whatever, and everyone just wants stuff to work out at its own pace. Chances are if we set a time, we'd probably delay it more anyway, because people want more time to finish projects and stuff. Has there ever been a war on Empires? It's something that we consider, like, small events wars a lot of the time, just because it's a funny way of talking about it. Like, between Jimmy and Sausage in Season 1, there was, like, a war for his music disc or whatever, right? Potato People Amber, thank you for the 42 months of Prime. Welcome back. Is there an episode next week? Yeah, there will be. If it's not out on Monday, hopefully Tuesday. I am time-lapsing all of this glass placement in order to put that into an episode. Mugen Lol, thanks so much for the 18 months. And Dr. Metal Warrior with 100 bits. Is there anyone on Empire server I'd love to collab with more? I mean, all of them. They're all just lovely. I went into this season wanting to collab more with Joey and Shelby because I hadn't really gotten to see as much of them in Season 1 because they joined partway through, and I actually ended up embarrassingly losing the one bit of footage that I had that was an interaction with Shelby's character. So, yeah, I did that big pirate dungeon thing for Joey, but we met up a couple of times on camera to do bits and pieces, and the next lore build video thing I have coming out is the mushroom circle in Shelby's swamp, where she goes to find out about the fog and stuff. And that was like a collaborative thing, so that was unlike any of the other lore builds I'd done because it was built with her there and kind of taking notes live and everything. So we basically just had a big chat about what it's like telling stories on multiplayer servers, which was really fun. Let's leave a... Dang it. This is why I don't want my escape key to act up. This is why my keyboard's been really annoying me lately. Just going to wait for my replay to save. Why are Grumbot's arms sticking out? Because adding on a whole front part to that would have just been too much extra glass, and I think it's funnier if the arms are sticking out. I was considering rebuilding the arms so that they were like this, as though Grumbot was like dead, or like just folding them up somehow, but I think it's A, too much extra effort, and B, it means changing something that was built by the hermits on the server, so I think it's kind of nice to continue doing, like, leaving things as they are. It kind of, again, goes along with my whole theme of, like, we're preserving all of this stuff as it was. We're just putting a glass case around it. The arms can hold things for different events, yeah. Just give it, like, a bouquet of flowers or something. He's already got the white gloves. He already looks like a magician. Am I using an auto-clicker to place the glass? No, I'm holding down a keyboard key that's rebound for the use action. So I rebound the X key so it is place block. And that allows you to place blocks very fast because of the way keyboard key inputs work. Start the recording again. It automatically starts when I log in. Like, it's not something I have to click go on. If anything, I have to click on it to make it stop. The white gloves make him look like a snooker referee. Gosh, that's a pull. Wrap the arms in glass like saran wrap. I feel like that'd look kind of weird. You know those kind of like surgery tents where they have to keep the patient hermetically sealed? It'd kind of be like he was operating on one of those. Except that'd be the entire outside world. Add some Mickey Mouse ears and he's a whole new character. He's suddenly from Scarland. It's the Scarland Grumbot. This whole scaffold thing, I think this is this a tree farm or something? There's definitely some TNT action going on here. Oh, it's mushroom as well. Interesting. Could you put the plaque on his hand so you don't have to figure out a place for it? I could, but I do want to have a dark oak, like, stand for the whole thing eventually. For now, I'll just settle for the glass box. I'll figure out the details later. Is Grumbot dead? Yes. Here's me thinking his arms reminded me of Cool Spot. Oh, that's a reference. How much glass is this? I've used about 10 shulker boxes worth so far. And each shulker box is 1,728 items, so you're looking at about 18,000 glass. Why is there sculk spread? Because Cubfan decided to put sculk catalysts basically all over the server in areas players were going to be. So there's a lot of sculk catalysts either still buried under the ground or people haven't cleared up the sculk after they've moved the sculk catalysts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so that's 11 shulker boxes. And obviously I'd done a fair amount before this, so I think of the glass I've placed so far, it's probably more like 30,000. Does this mean nobody will use the Hermitopia farms and resources? I'm leaving it up to the rest of the server to decide what this means. I just want to build a glass box around it because that's my thing. But the idea is we're preserving Hermitopia so that it doesn't end up being... Yeah, bits of it don't end up getting stolen or modified from where they are now. Inside the glass box, you could theoretically survive an apocalypse, have all the resources, revive Grumbot, escape to a new world. The problem is Grumbot is very dead, and there really is no reviving Grumbot without Grian. And all Grumbot would do if he was revived was say, like, this world needs to go, Mumbo isn't here. Will there be more crossovers in the future for other SMPs? We have no way of knowing that. We haven't got any planned. And it's possible that there might be in future, but, like, we don't know. Step 1 to reviving Grumbot, convince Mumbo to join Empires. Let's not tell the Hermitcraft Grumbot that Mumbo isn't there either. True. At least Mumbo has a base on that server, you know? There is evidence of Mumbo having been on that server at some point. If nothing else, there's, like, login information. There are trace amounts of Mumbo. Put an armor stand with Mumbo's head. Something tells me that wouldn't fly. Gonna move on from that one. It worked for Beef. Yeah, but Beef didn't have to fool a robot. Just his audience. Robots are far more cold and clinical. What was the unit to measure amounts of Mumbo in Minecraft world? Part of the Grumbot universe. Yeah, there's the PPM, the parts per Mumbo. Has to be over a certain threshold. Or MPM would be Mumbos per million. It's a 1 in a million guy. Was the half-life of a Mumbo particle? I think that would be measured in redstone ticks, one way or the other, right? Fun to hook up Grumbot to ChatGPT or an AI trained on Hermitcraft lore. Gosh, I don't want to read any of that. I don't want to read anything that an AI has written about Hermitcraft. That's a scary thought. Mitts, mumbo jumbo bits. Mumbo jumbits. I don't think any of these spiders can see me. The zombie can. Otherwise the spiders would be able to climb up the glass. Well, RIP that piece of glass. Looking at the progress we've made and the amount of glass we have left, we are definitely going to need more. But that's fine, we can do some trading here on stream. Spiders can't climb glass? No, spiders can climb anything. I mean, not entirely true. Spiders can climb any full block. They may not be able to pathfind up the side of a glass because there's not a solid block for them to stand on. But they can absolutely climb glass. Spiders can climb the world border? Yeah. Do I get to play any other games outside of Minecraft? Sure do. I've been tweeting a lot about Pokemon lately. But yeah, I end up playing a bit of, like... I play Switch games and stuff in my downtime just to relax and have something to play on the couch. But, yeah, downtime has been a little bit more precious to me over... December and January. Do they climb ice? Yes, they do. Yeah, spiders will genuinely climb basically anything. I think in Bedrock Edition there might be some blocks that they're coded not to climb, like they can't climb magma or something. But there's nothing like that on Java. Basically the only thing to block a spider from climbing is going to be physical. Like, it has to be a full vertical surface. So if you put a block or a stair or a trapdoor or something against the wall, they can't climb any higher than that because they can't go up around that. But if it's a straight surface, there's like a vertical surface, they can climb it. Do I have a favorite Pokemon? Yeah, Appleton from Gen 8. I just got a shiny one of those the other day as well, which is not necessarily a Pokemon I'm going to use a whole bunch, but I've got it set up with a few moves that are good for doing water-type Terror raids in Pokemon Scarlet. So it's got Apple Acid to lower Spadef, it's got Solar Beam and Sunny Day, and a Dragon move just for coverage. Yeah, Appleton in Minecraft is basically the Sniffer, yes. But yeah, I have a few other Pokemon that I really like. I'm getting a few of the shiny ones from the Gen 9 Pokédex right now. I really came around on Glimora. Like, I didn't really like the design of Glimora a whole bunch. But then I caught one from a raid that was an absolute pain in the butt. It was one of those 6-star raids, so it's got basically perfect IVs. But it had... I think it's called Sludge Wave. It was just this absolutely devastating poison-type move. Like, it was doing... like 1/3 to 1/2 damage to me, even though I was resistant to it and stuff. So I was just like, I have to have this. And it has corrosive, so it can even poison steel types and stuff, which is kind of a neat ability. Like, I don't tend to play competitive, so I don't really care about arena traps and stuff. I'm not really that into its normal ability where it's a trap setter. But I never really got into any of the other poison types. Like, poison type Pokemon were just a massive gap in my overall experience of that game. So I started using Glimora, and it's actually really good. Where do you find Applin? If you go to Tag Tree Thicket, which is where the poison-type Team Star base is, you find them in trees around there, but if you make one of the sandwiches that encourages encounters with dragon types, it's way easier to find. And then you just go around running into trees. There's also kind of like a divot in the landscape just south of Zapapico, which has a few Applin that are walking around on the ground if you can't find them in the trees. But what I was doing to shiny hunt them was this technique I found on YouTube where somebody had shared this, where you basically summon the fighting version of your ride legendary, so Miraidon or Coraidon, and you stand in this like really specific place where an Applin is just going to keep respawning in a tree, and if you use the shiny sandwich that is going to spawn shiny dragon type mons and you only encounter dragon type mons, then yeah, it's way easier for it to find. It just respawns in this tree over and over again, and to get a shiny one you basically just have to wait because it'll knock it out of the tree and then it'll keep like killing it and respawning one basically. So I was basically able to AFK farm shiny Pokemon. Did I ever play Pokemon Snap? No, I didn't. I never owned an N64, and I didn't buy Pokemon Snap for the Switch because I didn't have the time, I guess. But also, as an experience, it seemed like a really pretty game, but one where the depth of gameplay wasn't really what I wanted. Demi Pumpkin, thanks so much for the 3 months. Really enjoyed the crossover. Now excited for more regular Empire shenanigans. Yes, well, the Hermits certainly left their mark on this place, so I'm currently trying to leave my mark on that. But, yeah, there's going to be plenty more Empires action coming soon. A lot of us have taken a slightly more relaxed approach to creating content in January, but from February onwards, you'll be seeing a fair bit more of us, I think. What's my favorite build on Hermitcraft ever from any season? Gosh, it's difficult because any season is just such a broad range of stuff at this point. Yeah, there are so many seasons. I really want them to do an amplified season again, just to see what they'd end up doing now. Because Season 3 was amplified, and a lot of people look back very fondly on that season, but it was the version of Minecraft before they introduced Elytra, which feels like you could do a lot more with that landscape now. It is very tempting to say my favorite build on any season of Hermitcraft was our Christmas build that we did. That'd be a little bit vain, but pretty funny at the same time. That sure is a lot of glass. It is. I ain't gonna deny that. All glass, no brakes. Hopefully no brakes. I was on Hermitcraft for a bit. For, basically 2.5 weeks. The building scale of Hermitcraft exploded when Elytra was introduced. Well, yeah, the building scale of everything exploded when Elytra was introduced. Because you can just do so much more when it's possible to fly around. Azuma was talking about this the other day. Somebody in his chat asked why there weren't more ice boat roads on Hermitcraft, and he said, well, you can just fly everywhere. Once you have a decent gunpowder and paper farm and everyone's got Elytra, then all you ever do is fly, and it's not as fast as using ice boat roads, but it's just so much more convenient than building a boat road anywhere you want to get to quickly. Like, you almost save time by not building the ice boat roads. I still felt like it was worth doing out to the Wither Skeleton farm on the nether roof here, but flying is way easier to do. You don't need to build a whole infrastructure system. Exactly, yeah. That's sort of his philosophy on it, I think. Alright, we're on to our last shulker of glass. The end is in sight, but we are nowhere near it in terms of materials, so we are definitely going to have to stop the replay recording after this and go and trade some more with the villagers. I don't know if we'll get it done on the stream, but we'll at least get a lot of trading done, and we'll be able to come back to this with a ton more glass. And the way I could do this is that I could trade with villagers, head up here, use all the glass, wait for them to refresh their trades, and then go back and keep doing it in, like, stages like that, but that wouldn't be good for the time-lapse. So I don't think I will do that, much as it seems like the more sensible thing to do. What's an amplified world? If you use the amplified world type option when you create a world, it effectively makes the terrain a lot more extreme. Like, any mountains are going to be super tall mountains. A lot of the terrain effectively just gets stretched upwards, and it tends to be a little bit more intensive on older hardware, but it's like everything becomes an extreme hill biome. Wouldn't it be faster to gather sand and then trade while it's melting? I mean, yes, but I don't want to do this using any gathered sand, because my whole thing on this server is preservation, and I don't feel like going and tearing up a desert. Am I doing a prank? More of just like an ongoing lore idea than a prank, because, like, who am I pranking at this point, you know? Like, nobody lives here anymore. Was it Season 4 when they tried Amplified? Season 3. Be funny to see you popping up and down in the time-lapse. The thing is, I'd have to do it so much that the popping up and down wouldn't even really be visible, because the time-lapse would be too fast. And if I went through and edited all of that to just catch the moments where I came in and out of the entrance, it would... I mean, it would get old pretty fast, but it also wouldn't look all that good. Joey is living here, isn't he? I don't believe so. He certainly, like, raided the whole place, and he was like, all of the stuff in here is mine now, but I don't think he's interested in actually living here. If he is, well, he's got a big glass wall around him now. Can you still join Hermitcraft or not? I mean, I still have the current server IP and the login information. I don't know if I'm still on the whitelist or not. I'm not sure if they edited the whitelist afterwards. And there might be some opportunities for me to make a cameo in other people's videos here and there. I think Vintage Beef still wanted me to come on and try out the card game at some stage, but it's just finding a time that works. And yeah, Beef's card game is really cool. Just getting to see all of the map art in person was kind of mind-blowing. Like, I've done map art before, right? I've done bits and pieces, but every time I'm like, never again, because it's just so much work. And the fact that he's managed to make this entire card game with a unified art style and everything kind of really going together is amazing effort. Think I would have fun on the next Life series? Honestly, I don't think I would. And it's a shame because obviously they have a lot of fun making that stuff, but I feel like the whole concept of it just makes me tense. I would have anxiety about that stuff, and I don't really want to have anxiety about playing Minecraft. Why wasn't Lizzie on Hermitcraft? She just kind of disappeared. I think at the time she and Joel were moving house and they had like a few internet issues, which were kind of contributing to her not feeling motivated to play, but maybe she just didn't want to step onto Hermitcraft and either like perpetuate some people saying that we should all join Hermitcraft at other points, and maybe she just wanted to focus all of her efforts on the storyline for Empires. I don't know, but that's kind of a question you got to ask Lizzie, really, because I don't know for certain what her reasons are. Any spoilers on the next historical build? I'm planning on building something a little bit more castle-shaped at some stage, and it's really just a case of when I can start working on that, which is probably going to be in February once I'm back. She was supposed to babysit Hermes. Yeah, there you go. Auntie Lizzie is going to babysit Hermes. Who's going to be getting rid of all the skulk? Nobody around Hermitopia, as far as I'm aware. I still have ways that I can do it at other people's bases, but I have no plans to do it here. Joel went back to Empires early because of the internet and moving. Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes you just got to have fun ideas for what you want to do there, and maybe she didn't have that many fun ideas. I don't know. Alright, we are off of replay. That's going to be one heck of a time lapse. Let's actually take a quick look from the outside. There's the edge. Let's take a look at how much we've done. Because you can't really see it all that well, but it is there. Like, if I turn off the connected textures, that's just going to look awful. It's going to be very weird, but it is there. Like, part of me thought about putting, like, reinforcing beams on the corners or something. I feel like people aren't necessarily going to notice it from a distance, but when they get close up, they will definitely realize that there is glass here. And with shaders, it basically looks the same. Like, I took a couple of screenshots with shaders whilst I was building up the foundation, and yeah, it looks near identical, actually. So I'm just going to bring out a ton of shulker boxes. We'll put them over here. We'll be able to trade twice or 3 times with the librarians today, and then we'll have to wait until tomorrow before we can start the next batch of trades. But luckily there's most of these in here now trade glass. There's only one on this right hand side that doesn't, who is this guy, the respiration trader. Doesn't have a glass trade here, and it shows up in journeyman tier, so if he was gonna have a glass trade he would have had it there. But basically all the others down this side do. And then on this side it's these two. We skip this guy, we trade with this guy, and then we skip 2 and we trade with that guy. And that is all of the glass that we can get in one batch of trading. Which is, yeah, 10 stacks and 10.5, basically. But by that time, if they've had time to do it, they've refreshed their trades. So we can go back through, we can claim another set. We skip that guy. And then these two, skip that guy, trade with this guy, trade with this guy. And then up here, I have a few more blocks of emerald from where I was using the raid farm. like I said, we might get one more batch of trades out of them today. What time is it? Because, yeah, once the sun gets to noon, they refresh their trades for the second time, but they usually have one trade left over from the day before if you haven't traded with them again, so... Level 470, yes. So the first 400 of that was from the copper farm. The next 40 or so was from the raid farm, and everything since then has been from trading with villagers. I'm going to go change, close my blinds here. It's getting dark outside. There we go. It's like you're sealing off this source of pure chaos so it doesn't spread. Yeah, I kind of think it might be nice to clean up the skulk outside of Hermitopia and just leave the stuff that's like clearly visible inside of Hermitopia. But there's just so much skulk cleanup to do, and I don't want to make that my entire episode. Or my entire, like, rest of my season, basically. Copper Farmer's in the one with the drowned. Yeah, the one that actually gets me XP. I don't think of my my copper aging facility as a farm as such, because it doesn't farm resources. It just kind of ages them. It turns them from one thing into another thing. Great to see history being properly preserved. Also sad to know the collab is over. Yeah, it was a fun time. Like, it was one of the coolest things I've done in Minecraft, I think. Was getting to hang out with the hermits and make storylines and cool stuff with them. Okay, so we have that. We can put that back away. Obviously, we do have a few other, like, batches of villagers that we can go and trade with if we need to, right? But, like, at this point, they're done for the day. They're done trading, so... If I wanted to take another set of emerald blocks, go over to False's base, trade with the librarians there, we could do that too. I think Joel maybe has some librarians also. Getting up over the perimeter wall is now hilarious. You can sort of see it in the back there. It's as much a farm as a wine cellar as a farm. Yeah, true. And I don't know, my farm always had a wine cellar on Stardew Valley, so... Would zombifying and curing the librarians get you more glass? No. No, basically anything that you are paying 1 emerald to buy resources from them. Okay, all of the villagers here are invisible for some reason. That's concerning. They do exist, I promise. They are there. I don't know why that would be. That's actually a little worrying. This isn't even invisibility potions. Alright, I've traded with that guy already. Some Cogsmead magic is happening. Are these textured villagers? No, they're just standard librarians. So yeah, I could come here and I could get a bit more glass that way. But honestly, I think it's easier to just stay over at Hermitopia. And no, it's nothing to do with false retexturing them. Even if she had plans to do that, I was there earlier today. And I don't think anything like that has changed about the server since. See, if we go up here, we get to Stratos. I don't know where Joel's librarians are. I know where his clerics are. But I'm not sure where the librarians are being held. I assume they're in Lower Stratos, right? Because that's where all of the villagers are. Is this a library? No. Spoilers. What happened to the survival guide? It took a back seat whilst we were working on Empires Season 2 because I figured the season that we were having a collab with Hermitcraft was probably something I should focus on for the general health of my channel and the enjoyment of my fan base. If you look at any old episodes of the Survival Guide at this point, the more recent ones especially, they have nowhere near the views Empires does. So really I was just trying to work with what I knew my audience was going to enjoy and watch. But Survival Guide is going to be back probably in February. If nothing else, like, eventually the next update to Minecraft is going to come out and people are going to want to see Minecraft content from 1.20 and have some of those features explained, so that gives me a good reason to do the tutorial stuff. But, yeah, I was just feeling more inspired to do Empires. See, this is where all the clerics and stuff are, but there's no librarians here, right? Man, there's so many chests in this room. Which I presume is just for all the rotten flesh Joel brings back from the pigman farm. If I could share any survival tip right now, what would it be? Craft a shield and use it. So I don't know where, if anywhere, Joel has librarians, so... This is probably not going to be worth too much looking around. Because there's, like, booths for some people. Why not a totem? Totem can only save you once. Shield will save you any number of times. Totem also breaks when you use it, which a shield doesn't. You can add mending and unbreaking to shields, which you can do with anything that has durability. And that will allow a shield to basically heal itself anytime you do any damage to it. Yeah, plus you have to kill an evoker to get hold of Totems of Undying, which is fine if you know how to build a raid farm or if you're comfortable raiding a woodland mansion, but if you're raiding a woodland mansion, I suggest going in with a shield. Shields can be crafted out of 1 iron and 6 wood. It is a very inexpensive recipe. 6 wooden planks, even. Totem is best for unexpected damage. Shield is better for expected damage. Yeah. And, like, once you have a light trait, you can save yourself from full damage. Like, if you just stay somewhat aware of your surroundings, creepers aren't going to sneak up on you. And to be honest, like, if you're in a position where a creeper is going to sneak up on you and explode, a totem is going to save you from that. It's not going to save you from the next time that happens. So you've either got to carry around a huge supply of totems or just be a little bit more aware of what's happening around you. Yeah, adding a banner to a shield looks cool. You can't do it on Bedrock Edition, unfortunately. It's a real shame. I'm really hoping that they do add that to Bedrock Edition at some stage. Mostly because every time I do it in Java Edition, everyone's like, how did you do that? Is it a mod? Or they start calling me a liar when I try and explain that you can do it. I have so many people on my like survival guide episodes about adding banners to shields. They're like, you're lying! I'm like, why would I lie about this? This seems like such an insignificant thing to lie about. Just kids, though, right? Have you ever thought about doing something with the Dream SMP members? Not really. I don't know how much they're compatible with our style of content. I don't really know any of them, whereas like I know a lot of folks from Hermitcraft quite well, so like it doesn't seem like the kind of group that would be that interested in collaborating with some small fry YouTubers like us. But I feel like they're mostly streamers these days, right? How do I stay entertained on Minecraft and not get bored? By always trying to do something new and different. Even if something new and different is build a giant glass box around something. Tommy isn't compatible with anyone else. I mean, yeah, there you go. I feel like they would not have a great deal to gain from a collaboration with us. I think that's the hardest part of pitching something like that. Is trying to find what both parties can get from the experience. Yeah, the way I look at it, I've done survival guide episodes about this before, right? It's like there are a few different aspects to Minecraft. There is like PvP, there's exploration. Like this is the categories Vintage Beef is breaking stuff down by in his card game now. There's like exploration, PvP, farms, and redstone will lump those into a technical Minecraft category. There is building, and so those are different facets of Minecraft, each of which have like a different priority to you. And I look at those like the tiers of a beacon. So like the giant base, like the bedrock of your whole operation is like the thing you enjoy doing the most blocks, like the 81 by 81, or the 81 blocks, the 9 by 9 at the base of the beacon is like the thing you enjoy doing the most. And that's building. For me, I really love building. It's one of the things that I've just always had as a foundational part of my gameplay, and it's something that without that, I feel like this game would be kind of boring. The next tier up for me is technical stuff now, and that's a surprise to me because I really never thought I would get that technical, but doing stuff in Survival Guide has really taught me that that's goes hand in hand with building, right? You want to be able to farm resources so that you can then build with them. And I feel like technical play has really come into a really kind of important part of my overall Minecraft experience. The next tier up from that, the 5x5, is probably exploration, because I still love exploring the world, but I don't get my kicks out of that in the same way that other people do. And then the last one at the top is probably PvP and combat, because I don't really care much for combat in this game. It's a means to an end. It's a way of getting drops from mobs. Like, occasionally I'll fight some players, I usually lose, I'm not that good at it. So it's the kind of thing that I don't really care that much for. But I think one of the ways you can try and keep yourself entertained in Minecraft is either by understanding that balance of gameplay and focusing more of your effort, like splitting your time in the same way that you split up the stuff that you're interested in. So if you're a builder, focus the majority of the time on building, but remember that the technical projects are still going to come in there to be part of that. Or spend a lot of time exploring if that's your jam, but then build little stuff when you explore so that you're kind of flexing that muscle every so often as well. And the alternative approach to that is instead try and become a more balanced player. So try and make it so every part of the beacon is a chunky part, right? Like try and make it so that, you know, you do enough. You try and do some PvP if that's your weak point. You know, go and play PvP minigames on some servers, and you just try and like get out of your comfort zone every so often, right? Like there's a couple of different approaches to it. Personally, my way of doing it is to double down on all of this stuff, like to learn more about technical Minecraft, to learn more about building, maybe step out of my comfort zone every so often and do some PvP, but if I know it's going to make me miserable, I don't want to focus on that and try and get good at it and eventually come up short. Yes, your pyramid of Minecraft playstyle. It's basically what it boils down to. What do you do when you have a build block? Like, you just can't build anything. Find inspiration in other places. Like, look up other sources of inspiration, whether it's real-world pictures or environmental game design from other games. That's the stuff that I've really been focusing on lately, is like what other games can teach me about the way virtual worlds are built by professionals who've been doing design stuff for ages and know how to design a game environment. And like that's why I went into the Season of Empires having played Elden Ring and wanting to try and emulate some of the architecture that they put into Elden Ring, a lot of which is going to be based on real-life architecture, but it was how they used it as part of their environment that gave me a lot of the inspiration I wanted to bring to Empire Season 2. Do what Sausage is doing, go visit Spain and drink in the styles. Drink in the sangria while you're there. But, no, I think, yeah, just finding reference images online, even if you can't travel to places, because not everyone can afford to do that, a Google search is going to be free, and you can look up, you know, Gothic architecture and try and emulate that in Minecraft a little more. Get into a creative world and do some stuff. Like, I think one of the things that people often hamstring themselves with is imagining that if you're mostly a survival player, you should do all of your building in survival, and that using creative mode to draft stuff is somehow cheating. Like, I don't have any time for that point of view anymore, because it's helped me so much building stuff in creative over the last little while, trying to establish what I like about a certain build style, instead of just banging my head against the wall in survival if I don't like something, having to take so much time to change it and not knowing the direction it's going from there. Being able to use Lightmatica on this season has obviously been really helpful, but without that I would just take a ton of screenshots of the stuff that I built in creative and hope that I could recreate it with similar proportions and everything. Maybe there's another tier of that pyramid that is modded Minecraft as well. I think that might be one of the ones I was talking about in the Survival Guide episode where I explained this concept to begin with. And like, modded Minecraft is one of those things that I rarely ever touch outside of the level of mods we have on Empires, which is just like cosmetic stuff. It doesn't change vanilla gameplay at all, basically. You know, it adds bundles, which are technically a vanilla feature. They're just not implemented in survival. But yeah, like there's a touch of that. Somebody in chat mentioned the Lost Souls series with Cobblenauts. Yeah, like Forever Stranded is like a really interesting mod pack to try. And if you like that Skyblock experience, if you want to have the grind of working your way through different technical systems to try and restore normal Minecraft gameplay, then that's you know, an interesting approach to take, is try one of those more extreme mod packs that does a lot of changes to what the vanilla experience usually is. How far is the box? From the outside right now, we are up to almost the top of this section. So we've built from, I want to say we were about here. We built probably 2/3 of this on the stream here today. Might have been up a little bit higher, but we weren't at the arms. We weren't anywhere near the arms when I started this stream. And now we're doing pretty well. How much glass is that? I think it's probably about 30,000. Maybe a little bit more. Well, I figured it was going to be about 60,000 to complete the entire thing. So really just waiting for these guys to refresh their trades, so we'll get some sleep. Will the glass box stop all the looting and pilfering of Hermitopia? Probably not, but that's sort of not the point. The point is maybe to have people consider that they're breaking into Hermitopia every time they do this, but there's also a nether portal in here, so you could basically just do that. I sort of like the idea of placing the Hermitopia nether portal outside the glass box somewhere. Or alternatively, putting a glass case around the portal on the nether roof. Glass boxes never stopped pilfering before. This is true. My Deep Slate Emerald was still stolen. I need to go and get that back. I need to find a good excuse to go and get that back. Alright. Once we see them all use their workstations, it's time to do some more trading. Like the idea of encasing the nether portal? Yeah. Is there anything you can do when your villagers won't refresh? Make sure they're connected to their workstations and then give it like a full in-game day without bothering them. Villagers sometimes won't interact with their workstations if the player is standing nearby, because they try and leave themselves open for player interaction. So step away, like get away into a corner like this where you don't have immediate line of sight with too many of the villagers, and then just wait for them to work at their workstations. But if you have them in a trading hall like this, there are occasionally instances in which a librarian on this side might see the workstation of a librarian over here and try and connect with that, and that means they won't refresh their trades. So if it helps, like, break and replace a few of the workstations, if they've already got professions, then they will keep those professions if you've traded with them at least once. And you've really just got to try and get them connected to the workstation block that they're stood next to. The redeems work automatically? Yeah. I have a program called Lumia that runs in the background that sends the patterns to my lights in the background. Is there a website you recommend I look at if I want inspiration pictures for a mega base? There's a few different places online. Places like ArtStation, although whenever we recommend that on the Spawn Chunks, my co-host Joel often says, like, bear in mind that ArtStation can host some not safe for work images, so you might be, if you're looking for steampunk stuff, you might find a few illustrators who tend to make a little bit more lewd stuff, but if you're looking for steampunk buildings or landscapes or whatever, then you're going to find some stuff that's maybe a bit more your speed. But then for Megabase stuff, like, start with a theme, and then start just, like, doing image searches for that theme, and maybe the words concept art or something can go a long way to make sure you end up with some good inspiration. Like, if I want to look for a fantasy castle, there are so many of them that are done by very talented illustrators. Maybe you find an illustrator whose style you really like. But yeah, there are some really great fantasy castles that people have drawn that are just on ArtStation profiles or anything like that. And obviously, if you're making content out of that stuff, give credit where you can, because it's important to acknowledge our sources, especially with a lot of the art world concerned about theft, especially with, like, you know, AI scraping and being trained on certain types of images, that kind of thing. But honestly, if you're just doing it for personal reasons, then, you know, you can go looking for that inspiration anywhere. Make sure you steal all the glass from Hermitopia chests. I'm pretty sure people have already stolen all of it. But, frankly, I'm fine just trading more of it like this. Like, it's all here with these villagers. Might see if I have any food back at my base. What am I doing? I'm trading glass from some villagers so I can surround the entirety of Hermitopia in a glass case like this. And, yeah, that's something I said I was going to do because of my whole thing being preserving history. I swear I was trading a bunch of food from farmers a while ago, and I just don't know where I put any of it now. Got one golden apple. Nah, I don't know where it is. Do you have any tips for if you don't like your world anymore? Start a new one? Or maybe, like, take a break from Minecraft for a little while if you're just getting bored of looking at it, and play a couple of other games if you have access to them, and then come back to your world later with fresh eyes. It's always a good place to start. I'm going to take some of these apples that I will probably never eat otherwise. We'll eat some of these for a bit. And it's raining. Sam Goldhand, thanks so much for the tier 1 sub. We also had Scotsman with the 6 months earlier. Thank you very much. Move out 1,000 blocks, establish an outpost. Yeah, explore the world. Find some other stuff that you might want to build. Because, like, obviously, a lot of people enjoy the early game, getting set up, getting new equipment kind of thing in a new Minecraft world. But aside from that, once you have all of the same stuff that you had in your old world, it's really just about what the landscape provides. And while starting a new Minecraft world can give you a fun sense of, like, everything is new, realistically, if you go out further away than you've ever explored in your current Minecraft world, you're basically getting the same thing. Sam Golden Live with the 10 gifted subs. Thank you so much for gifting those subs to the community. Folks in the chat, if you got gifted a sub, make sure you thank Sam for that very generous gift. And you'll notice only one notification for that. So it's working. Any tips for a small Minecraft streamer? Just stream whatever you want to do. Like, just get used to the process of streaming. I find that whenever I go and check out other streamers, like, I usually get drawn to people who have a decent amount of commentary going on just on what they're doing in the game. Like, don't rely too much on chat to provide topics for you to talk about unless you have some really active people in your chat. But honestly, just talk about what you're doing in the same way that you hear Minecraft YouTubers doing when they're talking about, like, okay, I'm going to go over here now. Like, should I fight these cows? Should I, like, breed and kill some of these cows? Like, here's what I'm planning on doing for today. Just talking about your experiences with the game. Because if I go into a stream and the streamer just doesn't talk for, like, 5 minutes because they don't really know what to talk about, then I'm usually not going to stick around for that long. But I think try not to be too self-conscious of that. Like, just try and establish your own style and people will show up regardless, because it's a big game and a massive community, and sooner or later a few people are going to find you, and if they like you, they'll stick around. Yeah, talk like you have an audience even if you don't. Yeah, but don't rely on the audience too much for conversation topics. Like, I'm able to do that now because I have a ton of people talking in chat, but even then, like, I see people being like, all right, give me something to talk about with their chat, and that's always kind of awkward for me because I'm like, you know, it's like asking a comedian tell a joke, you know, just give you a conversation topic. And then you say, like, oh, have you seen any good TV lately? And they're like, no. And you're like, great, well, that's my effort done there. Which hermits do I watch the most? If you do !hermits in the chat, the Nightbot command will show you a full list of all of the people I watch on the current season of Hermitcraft. I only watch half of them. ZloyXP watches the other half. So yeah, Ginger has just done that in the chat. So that's the list of people who I watch. There's not really one of them that I watch more than the others, because I just watch every Hermitcraft episode that they publish. And I'll show up and I'll you know, lurk in streams and stuff like that if they're playing other games sometimes. How did Liara join the recap team? Lee and Zloy have obviously been good friends for a while. They play on Truly Bedrock together. I've known Lee for a while. She moderates in my chat. Yeah, I think she just either suggested or Zloy invited her to do captions, because captions are really useful for making an accessible video experience on YouTube, and we have the script all written out, so it's relatively easy to do captions for the script, and then you just have to caption the video clips themselves, which is still a lot of work. But yeah, it just seemed like something that we should do, and Lee joining the team was sort of a no-brainer at that point. This is Smitty, thank you for the 6 months. Why are you called hermits when you all seem so extroverted? Well, I'm not calling myself a hermit, so that's a separate thing. Like, the hermits are a different group of people, but the term hermits really comes from it being called Hermitcraft, which was started by Generic B, being the gaming hermit. That was kind of his brand when Hermitcraft was initially founded. And I think he still calls himself that, even though he doesn't really stream Minecraft all that much anymore. Why those 12, or is it random? It's not random. We kind of decided to split them between the two of us when we started co-watching and co-writing the script. Like, initially when I started, I was just the voiceover guy, and Zloy would just give me a script and I'd read it, but it helped him with the workload, and it helped me with comprehension of the script if we ended up splitting watching the Hermits between the two of us, because then I would sort of know what I was talking about, and I'd know how to deliver some of the lines that were about more obscure Minecraft things that I didn't understand yet. So yeah, I started watching half of the Hermits, and Zloy started watching the other half, and maybe still watches a few of the others here and there, but yeah, it just felt like an easier way of doing the recap. James Haynes and Dogman Jack, thank you for the resubs. This is Smitty with the 6 months. How did me and Zloy start the recap vids? Well, Zloy was, I think, originally in the Hermitcraft fandom, like, before I was, and had some interactions, had maybe helped co-write a couple of the old Hermitcraft recap scripts where there was a much larger team working on it. The channel was, at that time, basically run by the Hermits. I think Azuma maybe had the login details and had created the channel, and they had access to that in order to make a Hermitcraft recap, because the Mindcrack recap had done so well and was such an integral part of that community that the Hermitcraft obviously thought we need something similar to this. And so that started, I think, around season 2 or 3, but after a while, maybe the size of the team became unmanageable, or the amount of different approaches that the team had, they just didn't really make recap episodes with the frequency and the quality that the Hermits wanted. And Zloy basically said, I can do better, just let me get a voiceover guy, because Zloy has a Russian accent, and he said it was going to be more difficult for me to have a successful channel at that point, because people weren't always going to be interested in listening to somebody with a heavier accent, even if they could speak pretty good English. So at the time, Zloy and I were playing on a server called Decidedly Vanilla, which is no longer a thing, but ran for like 5 seasons. And Zloy had joined the server because of playing Magicraft with one of the other members, and me and him had got to collaborating, and he was always really friendly. And he said, hey, I have this Hermitcraft recap thing that I want to do. Does anybody have any interest in providing voiceover? And I like doing voiceover stuff. I've, like, had aspirations of being a voice actor in the past, but I feel like the acting side of things is not something I'm particularly strong in. But I thought, yeah, sure, I'll give this a shot. So I volunteered, and he basically gave me scripts to read, and we went from there. That is why Recap used to be considered official, yeah. And it's always been a fan production, because it's not like any of the Hermits themselves actually do it. So the by fans for fans thing is still very much in effect. But yeah, after a while we just ended up getting to a point where we sat down with the Hermits and had a discussion, and they said it feels weird having the Recap as like an official Hermitcraft product when we're not paying you, and the channel currently isn't monetized because somebody else set it up, and so it would be connected to their AdSense account. And after a while we just said, well, we're going to start our own channel that we can monetize, because it was so much work doing that week to week, basically for free, that we just figured there's no point in doing it if we can't monetize it in some way. And especially since Minecraft has become my full-time career, I can't really spare that much time each week to do something that I don't get paid to do. But then, yeah, at that point, we decided to set out saying, hey, this is an unofficial channel in a lot clearer of a way, and we moved it to a different channel that we actually owned so that we could monetize it. Sam, thanks so much for the 10 gifted subs. Another 10 gifted for the community. Thank you so much. Folks in the chat, once again, make sure you thank Sam for that very generous gift. If you receive a gift sub, you're done now? Good. Look after yourself, okay? Do you write a summary for each video you watch? Basically, what we do is we take notes and timestamps. So if you right-click on a YouTube video, it has a copy video URL at this timestamp thing, and that basically gives us a series of links that go straight to the moments that we want to get clips from. And then Zloy downloads the videos and clips a bunch of stuff out of them, and then we have notes that go alongside each of those timestamps of basically like key moments in the episode, and then we turn that into a script. So we're not writing it as we go, but we write it all after the fact with the notes of what we've taken. The channel's internal name is Foolcraft Recap. Yeah, because we started that channel because Foolcraft was happening, and Iskal even invited us to do a recap of that, and it was going to be potentially part of Foolcraft's identity to have a recap channel like that, except Foolcraft was unfortunately not as active as it might have been otherwise. Does Loy make the thumbnails? Yes. So aside from watching the half of the Hermits that I watch, co-writing the script and doing the voiceover, that's all the stuff I do. Loy does everything else. So he edits, he does the thumbnails, he manages the channel, he watches the other half of the Hermits and writes, you know, sources all of the music if we're using different music, that kind of stuff. And lately he's been doing, like, illustrations and stuff as well, because he's an illustrator, so he's been throwing in a few of his own, like, drawings and stuff, and those are always really, really funny. Yeah, Sloy's art is really cool. If you want to see more of that, follow him on Twitter. He has a Tumblr as well, I think. But he was posting a bunch of really neat, like, poster-style stuff for Respawn, the 1-month hardcore server that we're doing this month. And, oh yeah, Hermitcraft Recap literally just came out. It normally comes up around, like, 4 or 5 p.m. Sam, you said you were done. You said you were done, Sam. Sam? Sam. We need to talk. Thank you for 20 gifted subs, first of all. No more, okay? Don't make me tap the sign. Lies. As always, folks in the chat, once again, make sure you thank Sam for that very generous gift to the community. And then say, no more, Sam. Put your foot down, chat. I'm counting on you. Do you split the money from the channel evenly amongst ourselves? We have a split based on how much work we each do. So Zloy receives a larger split of the revenue because he does more of the work. And I think that's pretty sensible, really.
Well, that's just prime.
Lord Font, finally something that's not a gifted sub from Sam. Thank you so much for the Prime sub. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for a brand new Prime sub. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. How does one pay a Russian? Yeah, there's kind of a hiatus on that right now. Let's put it that way. There's kind of a hiatus on that right now. Sam, gifting 1 sub. You're on thin ice, Sam. Will I do a hardcore run at some point, or am I doing? I mean, I'm kind of playing hardcore on this server right now, but honestly, I find the hardcore single player kind of defeats one of the interesting parts of playing Minecraft for me, which is, like, recovering after you die and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't like to feel like all of my effort is going to go to waste, and I tried doing a hardcore version of the survival guide because everybody used to ask me, am I going to play hardcore when hardcore got really popular, basically after Filza died. I mean, died in-game, not like in real life. I'm pretty sure the guy still streams. But yeah, the hardcore survival guide, I fell off of that because Empires got really popular for one thing, but the other thing is I just didn't really feel like it was adding anything of value to survival guide as a concept. And I just felt like it was one of those paralyzing things of, like, I don't want to commit so much time and effort to this world and then lose it all. Like, it just didn't really make any sense to me. Elric Troll King, thank you for the 2 months of Tier 1. Appreciate that very much. Fills the dies IRL, brackets, not clickbait. Yeah, right. Really love the Spawn Chunks episodes. Thank you so much. For folks who don't know, because there's a few people in chat who might be new here, I do a podcast called The Spawn Chunks every Monday with my friend Joel Duggan, who is not Joel from this server. He is a different Joel. There can be more than one Joel. They're not like Highlander or anything. But yeah, me and Joel talk about Minecraft every Monday over at thespawnchunks.com, or you can just search any podcast app for The Spawn Chunks and you'll find us. For me, losing the world kind of makes the playthrough more meaningful. Fair. That's something that's entirely fair for that. I think the other thing is I think hardcore as a content creation setup works so much better on streams than it does in videos. Because on videos, I'm constantly worried about, like, if I'm not recording and I die off camera, then how do I explain that to my audience? It feels very anticlimactic. And if you're playing it on stream, then the audience is going to see every minute of that world because you're streaming it for, like, multiple hours. And anytime you play in that world, you just load it up while you're on stream. And maybe you set up some AFK farms that you can work on in the background that you know you're not going to lose anything by AFKing. But yeah, I think, like, I always prefer, if it's single player, I'm making more, like, tutorial videos, and I'm focusing on the mechanics of the game and explaining those and talking about what I'm doing. Because otherwise I feel like I lose concentration with what I'm saying about something, and I sort of think, why would anybody want to listen to me talk about any of this? And it's different on streams, because streams are just stream of consciousness waffling anyway. But, I feel like when it comes to standard Let's Play style videos, it's got to have something a bit different, and for me that's tutorials. Phil says don't trust hardcore players if they're not streaming. Well, he's got to protect his brand as well, but yeah, like, if you're streaming hardcore, then everybody gets to see absolutely everything. And you have, like, you have stuff like Fwip. This happened to him recently, and he, I assume initially was like, well, let me just reset this, but he ended up mentioning it on Twitter that he had to roll back a backup of his hardcore world and lose a bunch of work and like start playing in his hardcore world again because he died to a glitch where he logged out riding a horse, like a skeleton horse. And he glitched through the world, and he basically loaded up the world, and he was falling into the void, and he was already dead. And, like, there's nothing you can do about stuff like that. So, I mean, the thing you do is you have a recent backup, and you roll back, but... Have I thought of playing challenges like Etho's Ludicrous Challenge? Is that the one Sliced Lime is doing right now, where you, like, can't jump or attack stuff? Something like that. Like, I think stuff like that is cool, but it's also kind of not for me, because I just get too frustrated with the limitations. Like, the thing I love about Minecraft is being able to use every single part of it. Sam? Sam, please. Well, for one thing, I'm glad that the, notifications that I set up for gift subs are getting a thorough testing. Chat, I told you. Keep an eye on that one. But Sam has decided that everybody in chat should be subbed. And you know what? That's most of the way to happening, I think. Thank you so much for 50 gifted subs. That's a total of 91 on this stream alone. That's wild. Abracadabra gifting a tier 1 stub to Stop Sam. That's very good. Hopefully whoever that is enjoys their gift sub to this weird channel. Macfisto, thank you so much for the 2 months of Prime as well. Appreciate that. Oh dear. Yeah, we need to get the hashtag what the heck Sam is currently trending in chat. Now, to be fair, there's not much else going on. We're just trading with these villagers, but... Let's say, I love your very philosophical yet not pretentious approach to Minecraft and its concepts. I hope it's not pretentious. I genuinely do. Any tips on increasing drops from a traditional mob farm? Define traditional exactly. That's difficult to say because so much of it depends on knowing what the design is. But realistically, just doing as much spawn proofing as possible, or making sure your AFK point is within range of the farm whilst being outside of the range of anything else that can spawn. That's typically why people do stuff. If your farm is built up in the sky, that's a good thing to get it away from any kind of other spawnable terrain nearby. But if your farm is lower down in the world and you've just managed to spawn proof a perimeter, then you're going to get more spawns, because Java Minecraft at least starts spawning stuff in lower chunks faster. So like if it's built at the bottom of the world with nothing above it, with like a straight kind of pillar of air above it, then you end up getting much faster spawns that way. But there's so many different layers of that, and how much of it is really necessary when you're putting a certain amount of time into AFKing at a mob farm. It's just some of the efficiency side of things is really negligible. I think we're done trading with them again today. Abracadabra with gift sub to seriously stop LOL. Also very good. Thank you for the gift sub.
Well, that's just prime.
Borealis Laura, thanks so much for the 2 months of Prime. The streams are my favorite. Well, thank you so much. Mob farm in the ocean. Yeah, oceans are a good place to do them. You got to worry about like drowned spawns and stuff as well. But then, if you build the mob farm like basically just above the ocean and you AFK above it, then that's usually a good strategy. It's the 20 high farm. What's the block range for the AFK point? So there are two things you need to know. First of all, you have to be within 128 blocks of any solid block in the area in order for it to spawn mobs. Sam, I'm trying to explain a mob farm, and here you go gifting more subs. Thank you for 5 additional gifted subs. Appreciate that. The mob farm, if you're standing 128 blocks away from the area where the mobs are being killed, which is presumably like at the bottom of the farm, then that way you make sure that anything that spawns in the farm is going to end up getting killed and not despawning in the process. But standing 128 blocks up in the air from there makes sure that you don't end up with stuff spawning on the landscape around your mob farm. That said, if you are 128 blocks away from the farm, there is a range of 32 blocks in which mobs are going to like stay spawned in. But if you're outside of that, if you're between 33 and 128 blocks away from a mob, they have a random chance to despawn. So ideally you want your AFK point to be somewhere between 24 and 32 blocks away from the farm, so that you can make sure everything in there stays like loaded and doesn't despawn in the process. But then that also means you could be closer to other terrain nearby, so that's why you've got to choose the location of your mob farm quite carefully. Abracadabra gifting a sub to Psy. Speaking for all of us, I think, but thank you. Alright, sun's setting, we should get another round of trading in. I know you might have answered this before, so apologies in advance. What are your thoughts on the Buried Skull Catalyst? Was it a good prank or just really annoying? Mixture of both for me. I think I can see what Cub was going for, and I think if it was the case that mobs that spawned in sunlight didn't, like... Or mobs that spawned didn't burn in sunlight and spread the skulk that way. Sam, you've rounded it up to 100 now, and I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off at that point. Thank you for the 4 gifted subs. Enjoy your #1 spot on the leaderboard. Cutting you off. Yeah, like the Skulk Catalyst thing, if mobs didn't burn in sunlight and spread the skulk, I would have thought it was really cool. Because then anytime somebody intentionally kills a mob at one of their bases, it spreads the skulk, and you like, oh, Cub fan, and like you gotta clean it up. Maybe you find a skulk catalyst, and you know, anytime you just like idly kill a creeper or a zombie or whatever that's outside your door, fair enough. But the fact that it can happen effectively, you know, if you're caving under your area, or if I'm unloading my copper aging machine and it gets dark and then light again outside, I come to the surface, the skulk spread everywhere. I don't really like that. And the problem with skulk is that it's a destructive process. Like it's changing blocks in somebody's base, and like generally speaking, I'd consider that griefing. I think it was cool as an approach to the storyline, and if the mechanics worked a little bit differently, I think it would have paid off a lot better. But as it was, basically it was the imminent destruction of anything that was built with natural blocks, which a lot of my base and my builds are. So I was immediately going to take a stance against that on a mechanics level. But, you know, I appreciate what he was trying to do. Feel like he didn't quite think that one through. Well, that's the thing. Like, the guy knows the mechanics of Minecraft. I'm sure he figured it was going to be a fun way of affecting basically everybody. It was just... yeah. I think it would also have been better if it was discussed with us beforehand, much as, like, the surprise element is worth playing around with. I think it would also have been a lot cooler if people were informed about it before it was happening. Might be a long shot. Do you remember how iron farms work in 116 and 116 snapshots? The same as they've worked since 114. You put 3 villagers near a zombie and they make iron golems. And then you arrange them in a formation that will allow them to do that repeatedly without the zombie damaging them, and as long as the villager can still sleep. Sam, thank you for the 100 bits. On a scale of tedium, would Skulk be more annoying as a grief than Moss? I mean, yes, because Moss doesn't continue to spread afterwards. The other problem is Skulk Catalysts have a range. So if a mob dies near one, it can be up to 8 blocks away, and the Skulk will spread where the mob dies, but that doesn't necessarily indicate where the Skulk Catalyst is. So you end up with a bunch of people, like, killing mobs or a bunch of mobs dying, but then that not really indicating where the Skulk Catalyst is, so you can't immediately clean it up again. So you basically just resort to either tearing up a large portion of your landscape to find one block in an entire chunk, or you patch it up and try not to kill stuff there again. What's my favorite build I've done? Great Bridge is up there. The statue above the catacombs is up there. Throughout my entire Minecraft career, it's probably the custom-built mountain range from Survival Guide 1. But I really like this. I like a lot of the stuff that I've done this season that's inspired by Elden Ring. I really like the museum. The museum came together really well as a build. And like the build process of that was so fun to share with everybody. So Cub placed all the Skulk by himself. No, he placed a few thousand Skulk Catalysts by himself. And then the Skulk spreads from those anytime mobs die nearby. What happens if you use a bottle of enchanting around Skulk? Nothing, because Skulk is based on things dying, not on experience orbs being around. It doesn't just absorb XP, it basically absorbs... It's supposed to be like the soul of the mob when it dies, or something like that, right? It's kind of the idea. Do we have any more blocks of emerald left? That is all the emeralds I have here before I'd have to go back to the raid farm and farm some more. Did Hermitopia just become my glass farm? Yes. And I used the glass from the farm to encase Hermitopia. Curious if Sculpt can be contained from spreading somehow with some man-made blocks. Possibly, but you've got to do that in 3 dimensions, which is really difficult. Because if there's any caves nearby, it can still spread to caves. And you have to know where the catalyst is to make sure that the area is properly contained. So, yeah, it's kind of difficult. The glass would have lasted much longer if you'd crafted the blocks into glass panes. Yes, but imagine placing 60,000 glass panes in a vertical formation like this. Imagine having to walk around on glass panes, placing more glass panes. Has the Empire's team decided on what to do with Hermitopia? Is it going to someone or becoming a free access tower of service fun times? I'm surrounding it in glass. that's what's happening to it. Yeah, we're probably still going to use some of the farms and steal resources from some of it, but honestly, like, we haven't decided any kind of like big plot point about it or anything. It's just going to be here, and we'll probably turn off a lot of the farms that cause lag, basically. Anyone else on the server today? Jimmy was online very briefly earlier, but he logged out again shortly afterwards. This is what it's been like for most of January. There's been a few people online, but like I'm just as guilty as everyone else of this. I think a lot of people are just taking a bit of time out and recharging their batteries for January, so there ain't too many people online regularly. And it's never going to feel as busy as it did while the hermits were here, so it's always going to feel a little quiet from this point onwards, I think. Kaz, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Brand new sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. Hey, Liara. Well, welcome in. Do I find doing this kind of build relaxing or a necessary evil for the story? Kind of both. Like, if I'm doing stuff like this on stream, it's super fun to just hang out and chat with people. These are always the streams I enjoy the most. And I fully expect that most of this stuff is now, yeah, so filled up that it's despawning. It's one of the reasons we have to shut off the crop farms and stuff. It's like the Hermits built Empire's a huge AFK farming service. Basically, yeah. I mean, like, what else were they going to do? It's Hermitcraft. They build big farms. How many farms are in Hermitopia? I don't have a count for you. So, like, right now, Kaz with the $61.15, which I presume is something like £50 UK. Thank you so much for the very generous tip. Really appreciate that. We're at Y190 here. This peaks at about 250, 254. So we've got another 60 layers of glass. I don't know how much each layer is in terms of, like, stacks of glass, but I assume it's at least 3. And so 3 stacks is 192. Let's say it's 4 stacks. 256. Multiply that by 50. You get 12,800. So we still need a fair bit of glass. Have I finished building David? For the tutorial stuff, more or less. I'm reformatting stuff right now. Like, I'm trying to work on a way where the entire machine can kind of be fed from the center of it, where the player... Excuse me. You can tell I've been talking a lot. Where the player stands to AFK, basically to let all of the copper in a certain radius age. And I can probably give you a bit of an update on that as a process. But I showed off what I've been doing for loading and unloading it on the last stream. So there's a few tweaks to that. It's my understanding that there aren't movable tile entities on Java, but are those blocks still considered tile entities on Bedrock as well? I don't know. I don't think the nomenclature really matters all that much. There's a lot of numbers. Yes, there's a lot of numbers. Did you consider putting something on the corners to help it look more like it's in a case rather than just under glass? I did. I mean, for a start, that's just more resources for one thing. It would help with the overall look of this thing, especially at a distance. But the other problem is I didn't want this to come all the way out to here all the way around, because that gets into like the water down there. But the shape of the case is also kind of irregular. Like there's this bit here where it goes out around Cub's starter house. So like putting stuff at the corners sort of feels like it gets in the way of seeing the overall build. I kind of like the fact that it's still visible from all angles. It's just definitely surrounded in a wall of glass. Ollie, thanks so much for the 5 months, buddy. A delicious glaze. It's a glazed donut. We'll all probably share. Hope you're good, Ollie. How's episode 3 coming along? Not that that's the only thing I want to talk to you about, but we did record extra bits for it the other day, so I presume that it's at least happening. Never gets easier looking at this, man. Too many of these have started trading for like 2 emeralds per instead of just 1. So I'm skipping over those until they rethink their business strategy. Hey, Joe. Suddenly everyone in chat was like, Joe! And it was like an episode of Cheers. G the B, thank you for gifting a sub to Joe Hills. That's very kind of you. Joe, I've been making really good use of the fast block placement thing that you showed off when you were building your pinball machine to do a lot of the glass walls here. But Hermitopia is slowly becoming a museum exhibit. I just need a lot of glass. But I'm doing it like 3 blocks at a time. Galloping those blocks into place. And right now I have 5 shulkers and change of glass. It's a very useful technique to know. Sandwich, thanks so much for the 27 months. And Kenwin, thank you for the 3 months. Welcome back, both of you. Anyway, if that's the midday refresh, not quite, but I think they should be. Yeah, okay, there. It's almost midday. It's like when the sun is at a certain angle.
Well, that's just
Ting Tut, thanks so much for the Prime sub. Brand new sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. Was there a raid you missed? I don't think so. Unless Twitch missed the raid too, because I didn't get a notification for it. Either way, that's the last trade we can do with these folks, and I'm going to log out so I can show you guys the progress on David. Because I mentioned this earlier, and we're about 10 minutes from wrapping up the stream. So, this is where we're at. There's a large space in the middle now, and that's kind of by design. Because if we want this whole thing to function, it needs to have proper like loading and unloading areas, and each of these modules need to be divided up into sets of 4, so that the flying machines can deliver the copper to those areas effectively. But basically, if we send this back to the middle... Sam, I'm ending my stream. To stop you and your menace from gifting any more subs. So... Oh, hang on. That still needs to be attached, please. It actually needs to be attached further down. Right, I see what's happened here. We need to have this set further back, but that's not a big deal. Boop. Sam, thank you for gifting another 50 subs. What are you doing? You're a maniac. You've made yourself the main character of the stream. And I'm happy about that, but... don't make a habit of it, that's all I'm saying. Right. So this is David... what would this be? David 6 at this point? Maybe David 7? I'm worried if we get to David 8, because then alien stuff happens, and I have to probably go to space. But the whole point of this is that this is going to be a more central kind of loading area, right? So you go over here, you load all of the copper in using these more piston automated loading areas. And right now, you can do that in this section and on that other platform that's made of crimson wood over there, which I'm only going to do 1 or 2 rows of so you can see what happens. Okay, we need to stop there. And then on this one, even though it's not really how the platform would fill up, I'm just going to add these 2 rows. And so, in order to fill up the machine, the flying machines need to be there for one thing. And that one. Oh wait, that one's already there. Why is that still over here? Interesting. I think that one must have got sent back at some stage. But, yeah, the flying machines need to be docked, first of all. Could you 0-tick that piston to speed up loading? Probably, but it really depends, like, on update order and where it gets 0-ticked from. Yeah, you could do that. But, yeah, it really depends on update order stuff, which I don't always have full control over. So when we send this off, all of these copper blocks get picked up by the flying machine, and the back row gets pulled out by the sticky pistons each time. There's some timing issues here right now that I know how to resolve. I've just been trying to rewire a couple of things to make sure they work better. But each of these rows of copper gets collected, and now it's going to pick up the next row of copper and distribute that, which once again needs a little bit of time reformatting because evidently these aren't getting picked up correctly. I copy-pasted some stuff and it's like the wrong way around because I mirrored the circuits in some cases, but ignore that for now. Basically, all of the copper gets distributed to each of these. And right now this is broken because that, yeah, this needs to be 1 block further back is what needs to happen, so ignore that as well. This isn't nearly as broken as I'm making it look. But basically, when all of the copper gets returned from this, let's say, for example, if we have some oxidized copper that the flying machine is going to return, and it's going to return it to this set of blocks here. once the flying machine comes back, it'll pick up these 2 rows of 9 copper blocks. Once they've fully oxidized, they just be collected from the machine. Sam, thank you for a gifted sub. Just one more for the road, I guess. And yeah, these pistons are basically going to flip everything around so that it gets arranged side by side like that. Then this flying machine will activate, and it takes all of the copper back towards the center. Apparently it takes 2 components of the neighboring machine with it, because this got broken by that flying machine arriving. I think this may just be a case of me spacing these out by 1 more block, which is not going to eat too much space in the grand scheme of things. Basically, once that arrives, it's going to bring all of this extra copper with it. And what was that missing? Like 2 blocks on the side here. It drops off the copper. And the timing there still needs a bit of work as well. Because, yeah, that should drop off the copper, and these sticky pistons collect it. They very briefly drag the blocks down. That flying machine gets sent back off, and then these get pushed back up again. And what you end up with is basically 16 by 9 aspect ratio. You end up with a 16 by 9 area of copper here that you can harvest somehow. And I don't know if I can potentially automate that. Like, it could all get pushed out this way and then into like a blast chamber or something. But the more in depth I go with that, the more I end up with just like additional expense for the contraption, basically. And so I'm not sure how much of that is going to be worth it. Could you go to an AFK spot holding down right click so blocks are auto mined and collected? Potentially, yeah. So like, if you had a way of pushing all of this stuff inwards 1 more block, and then just have a player standing here and it pushes the pistons towards you, and you just kind of stand there and hold down left click, you can do that too. Yeah, like, I think that's certainly possible. Again, I'm just trying to figure out like the expense in terms of components, because all of this is expensive enough, and I still want to build this in survival. But yeah, when this doesn't have bits that it keeps getting caught on, and when the flying machines don't stick to each other, this is all pretty functional. And the whole point of this exercise, because I built it sort of functioning over there, but the whole point of this is to reformat the entire machine so that the player is standing in the middle, and you basically have no real reason to leave this spot unless you're loading the machine. And then you wait here for the machine to just return the copper to you, basically. That's the idea. And then basically we copy this entire thing and we paste it on the opposite side of the room, and you end up with a lot of copper aging. Which I guess it's 18 per row. So this would be 18 times 16. Which I need to do on a calculator. 288. So multiply that by 2. The entire room gets you 576 blocks of copper, which is basically 1/3 of a shulker box. It's 1 full row of copper. Is the entire room all going at once. And then if you want to have 2 more layers of this, if you want to basically build the machine upwards, then you end up being able to age an entire shulker box with 3 layers of a machine like this. But then you have to have the redstone components for 3 layers of a machine like this, which is why I need to build a raid farm in my single player world. That's where we're going to leave the stream for today. Thank you so much for stopping by, folks. Hope you all had a good one. I'm going to go make some real good chili, is the plan. So I'll drop you off with somebody else who's streaming Minecraft. May as well leave you with Joel Duggan, who I mentioned earlier as my podcast co-host on the Spawn Chunks podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who's been incredibly generous on the stream. You know who you are. Joel is streaming from the town of West Hill on his private server, The Citadel. He has been building this town for, I think, close to 2 years now. He's building a medieval town in survival. It's in a 1.19 server. I think he's building in 1.17 terrain, but has 1.18 stuff elsewhere. And yeah, it's been a really cool project to see come together over the last couple of years. He streams mostly on weekends. So yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy Joel's stream. Be generous there as well if you can. Use your Pixel Hype emotes and the hashtag PixelRaid to say hi. And I'll be back with you guys on Tuesday for another Choppin' Tuesday stream. Hope you have fun. Until then, my name's been PixelRoast. Take care. Bye for now.